The night was quiet on the edge of the human colony. The stars were shining and the wind moved softly through the tall grass. Far away, machines hummed, but here, near the forest, everything felt lonely and strange. A human man walked alone, his steps heavy, his thoughts darker than the sky. He was not a hero. He was not a soldier. He was just an ordinary man, living in a colony where everyone else seemed to have family, friends, or purpose. He had nothing. His days were empty, his nights colder. Loneliness followed him everywhere. But tonight something was different. As he reached the edge of the forest, he heard it. A soft cry. At first he thought it was just the wind. But then it came again. A voice, a whisper. A plea for help. His heart beat faster. No one came here at night. The forest was dangerous, full of strange sounds and hidden shadows. He stepped closer, his eyes scanning the dark trees. Then he saw her. A figure lay on the ground, weak and trembling. She was not human. Her skin had a faint silver glow and her eyes shone like broken moons. She wore torn clothes, her body thin and fragile, as if she had been running for days. The man froze. An alien here? The woman lifted her head. Her lips trembled as she spoke, her voice soft but filled with fear. Please, please help me, the man wanted to run. His mind screamed that this was trouble. But something in her voice stopped him. It was not a trap. It was not anger. It was pure desperation. He slowly stepped closer. Who are you? He asked, his voice shaking. Her eyes filled with tears. I cannot explain. There is no time, please. Marry me. The man's heart nearly stopped. What? Her hands reached out, trembling, almost falling to the ground. You must marry me. If you do not, they will kill me. The man stared at her. This had to be madness. A stranger? An alien begging for marriage in the middle of the night. None of it made sense, but then, far in the distance, a light flashed in the sky. Not a star, not a comet. It was a ship. A ship searching, the woman's eyes widened in terror. They are coming, she whispered. They will find me soon, please. Only a human can save me. The man felt his throat tighten. He did not know what game this was. He did not know if he could believe her. But he could see the truth in her eyes. Fear. Real fear. Why me? He asked. Because, she said, her voice breaking. If I marry you, their law will protect me. They cannot harm me. They cannot touch me, please. Do not let me die. The man's mind raced. He had spent his life alone, invisible to everyone around him. Now, in this strange night, he stood before someone who begged him for the one thing he never thought anyone would want from him. Connection. He swallowed hard. This is crazy, he whispered. But the sound came again. Engines in the sky, louder this time. The hunters were close. The woman grabbed his arm with what little strength she had left. You do not understand, she said. If they catch me before the bond is made, they will kill me, please. Marry me now, please. The man looked at her broken body, at her silver eyes filled with terror. Every part of him wanted to run, to escape, to stay safe. But something stronger grew in his chest. Something he had not felt in years. He felt needed. The ground shook as the ship descended somewhere nearby. A deep echoing sound rolled through the night. Lights cut through the forest, moving closer. The man's hands trembled. If I say yes, what happens? Her lips curved into a weak smile. Then I live, and you will be more important than you ever imagined. The man's breath caught. The weight of the moment pressed down on him. Somewhere deep inside, he knew this was no simple choice. It was not just about saving a stranger. It was about stepping into something far bigger. Something dangerous, something that could change his life forever. The sound of footsteps came from the forest. Heavy, metallic, inhuman. The alien woman squeezed his arm, her eyes begging. Please decide now. Will you marry me or will you let me die? The man looked up at the dark forest. The shadows moved. The hunters were coming. He could see their glowing eyes between the trees. He looked back at the woman. Her tears sparkled in the moonlight. His heart pounded. His mouth went dry. The world seemed to hold its breath, waiting for his answer. And then, the night exploded with a flash of light. The hunters had arrived. The night burned with strange light. Shadows danced on the trees as the hunter's ship roared in the distance. The human man pulled the alien woman to her feet. She was weak, her steps trembling, but her eyes still begged him not to leave her. Run, he whispered. They stumbled through the forest. Branches cut his arms, dirt filled his shoes, and every step felt heavy. Behind them, the sound of engines grew louder. Strange voices echoed in the night, sharp and metallic like the cries of machines mixed with anger. The woman held tightly to his arm. She could barely walk, yet she forced herself forward. "Please," she gasped, "do not let them take me." The man's mind was chaos. Who were they? Why was she hunted? Why was marriage the only way to save her? None of it made sense. But there was no time to ask. The hunters were near. They reached the old ruins at the edge of the colony. Long ago, humans had tried to build factories here, but the place was abandoned. Broken metal walls stood like skeletons, and shattered windows reflected the pale moonlight. The man guided her inside, hiding behind a rusted pillar. He could hear the hunters' boots hitting the ground outside. They were close. The woman leaned against the wall, her chest rising and falling with pain. She whispered, "You should leave me. If they find us together, they will kill you too." The man shook his head. "No, you asked me to help you. I won't leave you." Tears filled her silver eyes. She looked at him as if she had never expected kindness. Her voice broke. "You do not know who I am," the man frowned. "Then tell me." "I deserve to know." She looked down, her hands shaking. For a long moment, silence filled the air. Outside, the hunters searched, their voices sharp and cruel. Finally, she spoke. "I am from the house of Vera. My people, they rule many worlds, but I am no princess. I am nothing. I was born poor, unwanted, and hated. My own family betrayed me." The man listened carefully, his heart beating faster. She continued, her voice heavy with sorrow. "On my world, women like me are bound by cruel laws. If we do not marry, we are executed before our 25th cycle. I escaped, but they are hunting me now. They must erase me or their honor is broken." Her words struck him like lightning. She was running not from strangers, but from her own people. Her death was a law. Her only hope was the strange bond of marriage that could protect her. The man's hands curled into fists. "That's why you begged me?" She nodded, her voice trembling. "Yes, if you marry me, their laws will protect me. They will not be able to touch me. But if you refuse," her eyes filled with despair, "then my blood will stain this world tonight." The man felt a storm inside his chest. He was only a simple worker, a forgotten man in a forgotten colony, yet this alien woman looked at him as if he was her only hope in the entire galaxy. He whispered, "But why me? Why a human?" She raised her eyes slowly. "Because humans are different. My people fear you, not your weapons, not your ships, but your spirit. They call you wild and unpredictable. If I am bound to you, they cannot break the bond without breaking their oldest law, and even they are afraid of breaking it." The man's breath caught. For the first time, he understood. It was not only about her survival, it was about something larger. Her people saw humans as dangerous, special in ways even they could not control. Before he could answer, the air outside exploded with light. The hunters had found their trail. Shadows moved across the broken windows. Metallic voices filled the ruins. The woman grabbed his hand, her body shaking. "Please, decide now. Will you marry me or will you watch me die?" The man's throat tightened. His heart raced like a drum in the dark. He had always been alone, unwanted, invisible. But now this moment demanded everything from him. A single choice would decide both their fates. Boots struck the ground outside, heavy, close. The man leaned closer, whispering, "If I agree." "How do we marry?" Her weak smile returned. "A bond of words, a vow. Once spoken, it cannot be broken. But you must mean it with your heart." The man swallowed hard. His chest felt heavy. He was not ready. He was afraid. But he also knew something deep inside. If he walked away now, he would never forgive himself. The hunters kicked open the door. Strange armor gleamed in the light, their weapons aimed forward. Their eyes glowed red like fire. The man turned to her. Her silver eyes shone with fear and hope, and in that moment he understood. He could not let her die. "I will do it," he whispered. Her eyes widened. Her lips parted in relief. "Then speak the words with me." The hunters stepped inside. Their voices roared, demanding her surrender. But in the shadows of the ruined factory, the human man took her trembling hand. Together, with the enemy closing in, they began to whisper the sacred vow. The night trembled with power and the hunters froze. The vow had barely left their lips when the air inside the ruins changed. A strange energy rippled through the walls, invisible yet heavy, like the air before a storm. The hunters, stepping forward with weapons raised, suddenly froze. Their glowing eyes flickered. The alien woman tightened her grip on the human man's hand. Her voice was weak but steady now. It is done. The bond is real. They cannot touch us, not without breaking their own law. But the hunters did not leave. They stood in the doorway, their tall figures blocking every path out. Their armor hissed with strange light and their voices came like thunder. "You are marked," one of them growled. "You cannot escape the council. You will face judgment." The human man swallowed hard. He felt the weight of their red eyes pressing into his skin. His heart screamed at him to run, but his body knew there was nowhere to go. The alien woman whispered, "They cannot kill us now, but they will try to capture us. And once we are in chains, the law can still be twisted. We must escape," the man nodded. His breath came fast. "How?" She looked at him with a faint smile, a mix of trust and desperation. "You are human. Think like a human. Do what they cannot predict." Her words struck something deep inside him. All his life he had been overlooked, ignored, treated as ordinary. But now, in this moment, his ordinary human mind might be the only thing standing between life and death. The hunters stepped forward, their boots cracking broken glass beneath them. The man looked around. Rusted machines filled the room, heavy pipes and shattered panels scattered everywhere. Then he saw it. A collapsed section of wall where the ground opened into an old sewer tunnel. "Follow me," he whispered. The woman staggered beside him as he pulled her toward the gap. The hunters roared, their metallic voices shaking the walls. Energy blasts struck the floor, sending sparks into the air. The man dove into the tunnel, dragging her with him. Dust filled his lungs. The ground shook as more blasts hit above. The hunters shouted, their weapons firing, but the narrow tunnel shielded them for now. The darkness swallowed them. The air was damp, smelling of rust and old water. The sound of dripping echoed like whispers of ghosts. The woman coughed, holding her chest. She was weaker than before. Her silver glow dimmed, flickering like a dying flame. "Keep going," she begged. "They will not stop. They never stop." The man's muscles burned, but he pushed forward. His mind focused on one thought: survive. Behind them, heavy steps crashed into the tunnel. The hunters were coming. Their armored bodies scraped the walls, their glowing eyes lighting the darkness. The man's heart pounded. They needed more than just running. They needed a trick. He spotted a pile of broken pipes ahead, hanging loose from the ceiling. If he could break them, maybe they could slow the hunters down. "Stay low," he told her. She nodded, too weak to argue. The man grabbed a long metal rod lying on the ground. With all his strength, he jammed it into the wall, forcing the pipes loose. The old structure groaned, then collapsed. Metal and rubble rained down, filling the tunnel behind them. The hunters roared in fury, trapped for now. The man pulled the woman onward. His chest ached, his hands bled, but there was no time to stop. Finally, the tunnel opened into an old drainage canal. The moonlight poured in, silver and cold. He dragged her into the open air, his lungs sucking in fresh oxygen. The colony lay far in the distance, its lights faint and quiet. Between them and safety stretched empty fields and silent machines. The woman leaned against him, her voice trembling. "You saved us," but the man shook his head. "Not yet. They'll break free soon. We need to stay ahead," her eyes softened. "You think like no one else. That is why they fear humans. You see paths they cannot see." The man looked at her, his heart racing. For the first time he realized she was not only afraid, she was also beginning to trust him. But before he could answer, the night sky split open with light. Another ship descended, larger than the first. Its engines screamed, shaking the ground. The woman's face paled. "It is not only hunters. It is enforcers. They come when the law is challenged." The man's blood turned cold. He was just one man, carrying one wounded woman. Against ships, hunters, and enforcers, he had no chance. Yet deep inside, a fire burned. He had chosen this path. He would not abandon her now. The ship hovered above, casting long shadows across the fields. Voices boomed from its speakers. "Submit to the council. You cannot escape judgment." The woman clutched his arm. Her silver eyes glistened. "If we run, they will keep chasing us. If we hide, they will always find us. There is only one way left." The man's throat tightened. "What way?" She whispered, her voice trembling like the night wind. "We must go to the council ourselves. If we run to them before they capture us, the bond will stand. They cannot break it." The man stared at her, shocked. Go to them. On our own? She nodded weakly. Yes, it is the only chance, but it will be dangerous. They may try to twist the law. They may try to kill us both. The man's hand shook. He was just a human, and yet she asked him to stand before an alien council that ruled worlds. But he saw the truth in her eyes. This was not only her fight anymore. It was his too. He lifted his head, staring at the glowing ship above. The hunters would come. The council would wait, but he would not run forever. Then we go, he said firmly. The woman's lips trembled into a faint smile. Then we go. The night echoed with engines and distant roars, but together, the human and the alien woman stepped forward into the unknown. The escape was not over. It had only just begun. The night was cold and the air carried the sound of engines far above. The hunters had been delayed, but they would not remain trapped for long. The man and the alien woman walked quickly across the empty fields, the broken machines of the old colony standing like silent giants around them. The woman leaned heavily against him, her breath weak, her silver glow fading. Yet her eyes burned with something more than fear, something desperate. At last she spoke. You chose to help me. You chose to speak the vow. But that is not enough. Now you must choose again. The man looked at her, confusion in his eyes. Choose what? She stopped, her legs trembling. Whether to finish the bond, or to abandon me, her words cut deep. We already made the vow, he said quickly. Isn't it done? She shook her head. The vow began the bond, but it is not complete. For the bond to be unbreakable, it must be sealed in trust, not only words. If your heart refuses me, the law can still take me. If you doubt me, I will die, the man froze. His chest tightened as if the night itself had gripped his heart. Trust her? He barely knew her. She was a stranger, an alien, someone who had pulled him into danger with nothing but a desperate plea. And yet, he had seen her fear. He had heard the pain in her voice, the truth in her trembling eyes. Still, doubt pressed heavy on him. He whispered, You could be lying. Maybe this is a trick. Maybe I'll be the one to die. Her eyes glistened. She did not deny it. Instead, she lowered her head. If you walk away now, I cannot stop you. But remember this. Sometimes the greatest risk is the only path to meaning. Her words lingered in the night. The man's mind spun. His whole life he had been invisible, drifting without purpose. But now fate had pulled him into something greater, a choice that mattered not only for her but for him as well. Before he could answer, a sound tore through the sky. A spotlight from the enforcer ship swept across the fields, searching. The ground trembled under its engines. The hunters' metallic voices carried through the wind. They're close, the man muttered. The woman's grip tightened. Her voice cracked. Choose now. If you cannot trust me, if you cannot stand with me, then let me go and I will face death alone. The words cut sharper than any blade. The man stared at her. He remembered the nights he had spent alone. The silence of his small room, the emptiness of a life without meaning. And now here she was, someone who needed him. Someone who begged him not for wealth, not for power, but for trust. His chest rose and fell. And then, with a trembling breath, he spoke. I will not leave you. I choose you. Her eyes widened, tears glimmering like stars. For a moment, her silver glow returned, brighter, stronger. The air around them shifted. The bond pulsed, unseen yet powerful, wrapping them in something ancient. The hunters might have their weapons. The council might have its laws. But now something greater bound the two together. But there was no time to rest. The spotlight swept closer. Voices shouted. The man pulled her forward. Come on. They ran again, stumbling across the fields until they reached the old train depot. The building was broken, but its underground tunnels still stretched toward the colony. They slipped inside, their shadows moving across cracked floors and rusted rails. The man guided her down the dark passageways, every sound echoing like thunder. But the hunters were clever. Their footsteps soon followed, heavy and relentless. The woman leaned against the wall, her strength fading again. We cannot run forever, she whispered. The man clenched his jaw. Then what do we do? She looked at him with fire in her eyes. We do what humans do best. We fight with courage even when the odds are impossible. The man's heart pounded. He had never thought of himself as brave. Yet here, with her, he felt something new. A spark. A reason. The tunnel shook as the hunters forced their way inside. Their glowing eyes cut through the dark. The woman reached for his hand. Her voice was steady. If you are truly with me, then stand. Not as a servant, not as a savior, but as my equal, my husband. The man's breath caught. Husband, the word was heavy, unreal, yet somehow it felt right. He tightened his grip on her hand, his voice firm. Then we faced them together. The hunters stepped forward, weapons aimed. Sparks lit the tunnel. The woman raised her chin, her silver glow rising once more. The man stood beside her, his heart strong, his fear burning into resolve. The tunnel filled with light, with the sound of danger closing in. But in that moment, the choice was made. No matter what came next, they would stand as one. The tunnel shook as the hunters moved closer, their glowing eyes cutting through the darkness like fire. Their weapons crackled with strange light, humming with deadly energy. The human man felt the weight of death pressing down on him, but he stood firm, his hand locked with the alien woman's. The vow was spoken. The choice was made. But was it enough? The hunters raised their weapons. You are bound, but the council will decide, one growled. Surrender now. The woman's voice rang out, weak yet steady. You cannot touch us. The bond protects us. The hunters froze for a moment. Their armor hissed, their eyes flickered. They wanted to strike, to finish her. But the law was older than their weapons. The vow had power. The man felt it. An invisible shield wrapping around them, something alive, pulsing like a heartbeat. His chest grew warm, his skin tingled. He realized this was not only words. It was energy, ancient and binding. The hunters snarled. The bond will not save you from judgment. The woman leaned against the man, her strength fading, but her silver glow burned brighter for a moment. Then judgment must wait, she whispered. Suddenly the ground trembled. The energy around them surged. The hunters stumbled back as if pushed by an unseen force. The man's eyes widened. The bond was not only protection, it was power. The woman's voice trembled. Do you feel it? He nodded slowly. Yes. But what is it? It is the bond itself, she said, her breath uneven. When two souls join, the law binds more than words. It binds strength. What is mine flows to you, and what is yours flows to me. The man felt it then, her pain, her fear, her exhaustion, but also her courage, her fire, her will to live. And she felt his steady heartbeat, his stubborn resolve, his hidden strength he never believed he had. The hunters stepped forward again, anger shaking their voices. Law or not, you will come with us. The man's fists clenched. For the first time, he was not afraid. The warmth in his chest spread through his arms, his legs, his entire body. He stood straighter, taller. His voice came out steady. No, we won't. The hunters hesitated. His voice was not loud, but it carried weight. The energy around him shimmered like heat rising from stone. The woman looked at him with wide eyes. It is working. The bond is making you stronger. The hunters roared and fired their weapons. Blasts of energy lit the tunnel. But instead of burning them, the blasts broke against the invisible shield, scattering into sparks. The hunters stumbled back, their glowing eyes dimming with shock. The man felt the force of the blasts, but not as pain, only as a wave that pushed against his chest, a wave he could push back. He lifted his hand without thinking, and the energy curved around it like water around a stone. The hunters froze. For the first time they looked uncertain. One hissed, "Impossible!" A human cannot. But the woman's silver glow flared brighter. He is human. That is why it works. You fear what you cannot control. The tunnel filled with silence. The hunters lowered their weapons slightly. They could not break the law, and they could not overpower the bond. The man stepped forward, his voice hard. Leave us. The hunters growled but did not strike. Their orders chained them tighter than any cage. Slowly, one by one, they backed into the shadows, their glowing eyes fading. The man's chest heaved. His hands shook, not from fear but from the strange energy that still burned in his veins. The woman collapsed against him, her body weak, her glow dim again. You used the bond, she whispered, but it drains me. My strength feeds yours, he held her gently. Then rest. I'll carry it now. She smiled faintly, her eyes half closed. You don't understand. No human has ever carried it before. You are the first, his heart pounded. The first? That word echoed inside him. He had lived his whole life believing he was nothing, invisible, unwanted. But now, in this strange bond, he was something more. Something feared even by hunters with weapons of light. The night above shook as the enforcer ship descended lower, its voice booming across the land. "Submit to the council. You cannot hide." The woman's eyes opened again, weak but determined. "They will not stop. The bond saved us tonight, but it cannot protect us forever. We must face the council." The man's jaw tightened. He looked at the sky, at the giant shadow of the ship waiting above. He knew she was right. Running would never end. Only by facing them could they claim true freedom. He brushed a strand of silver hair from her face. "Then we'll go to them, together." Her lips trembled into a smile. "Together." The bond pulsed once more, steady and alive. The man lifted her into his arms, stronger now than he had ever been. The tunnel behind them was silent. The hunters gone, but their threat still heavy. The future was uncertain. The council would be waiting, ready to twist their law, ready to crush them both. But for the first time in his life, the man did not feel small. He felt powerful, and he would not let her face it alone. The night stretched ahead, filled with danger, filled with judgment, but also filled with hope. The journey to the council chamber was long and heavy with silence. The enforcer ship carried them across black skies, its engines humming like a warning. The human man sat stiffly, the alien woman beside him, her silver glow dim but steady. Around them, armored guards watched in silence, their glowing eyes sharp with judgment. The man's fists clenched. He had faced hunters, he had felt the bond's power, but this was different. The council was not a group of soldiers. It was something larger, older, colder, untouchable. The woman whispered, her voice low so only he could hear. "You must be careful. They will twist every word, bend every truth. But if we hold together, they cannot break us." He nodded, his chest tight. "And if they try?" She turned her silver eyes toward him. "Then we remind them what humans are." The ship descended into a massive city of stone and light. Towers rose like blades into the sky, and at the center stood the council hall, black and shining, older than empires. The air was thick with power. Inside, the chamber stretched wider than any cathedral. Hundreds of alien figures filled the seats, their faces hidden in shadow. At the center, raised above all, sat the counselors, tall beings with eyes of fire cloaked in symbols of law and tradition. The guards forced the man and woman forward to stand on a circular platform. Light poured down on them from above, harsh and blinding. A voice boomed from the highest seat. "You stand before the High Council of Vera. You, daughter of Vera, are accused of breaking sacred law. And you, human, are accused of corruption, binding yourself where you have no right." The woman bowed her head slightly, her voice calm but firm. "I have broken no law. I sought protection through the bond. It was given freely." A hiss filled the chamber. Dozens of voices muttered in anger. One counselor leaned forward, eyes burning. "Protection? You are a traitor to your bloodline. You abandoned your house, rejected your duty. You dare speak of law?" The man stepped forward, his jaw tight. "She is alive because of me. I gave my word. Your own law says the bond is unbreakable." The counselors stared at him, their silence heavy. Then one laughed, a sound like stone cracking. "A human dares speak of our law? You are nothing. An accident of evolution, a wild beast given tools. You cannot stand in this chamber." The man's fists shook, but the woman touched his hand, steadying him. Her voice was soft but sharp as a blade. "You call him nothing, yet your hunters could not touch him. Your weapons could not break the bond. Tell me, counselor, what is nothing that even you fear?" The chamber erupted in whispers. The counselors shifted uneasily. The High Counselor raised his hand and silence returned. His eyes glowed brighter. "The bond is real. We cannot deny it. But the law is not simple. The bond must be true, built on trust, not on desperation. If we find it false, it will be broken. And both of you will face death." The woman's heart pounded, but her voice was steady. "Then test us. Let the bond speak." A great crystal rose from the floor, pulsing with ancient light. It glowed blue and red, humming with power. The High Counselor spoke. "Place your hands upon the crystal. If the bond is weak, it will shatter. If the bond is false, it will consume you both. Only a bond of true unity can survive." The man glanced at her. She met his eyes, and in that moment he saw everything. The fear, the hope, the trust. She was no longer a stranger. She was his choice. He placed his hand on the crystal. She placed hers beside it. The chamber fell silent. The crystal blazed with light. At first it was soft, a warm glow. But then it grew brighter, stronger, wrapping around them both. The man felt her heartbeat, her pain, her strength. She felt his resolve, his courage, his hidden fire. Their souls pressed together like two rivers joining into one. The counselors leaned forward, their eyes wide. The crystal shook but did not shatter. The light spread across the chamber, washing over every shadow. The High Counselor's voice trembled, though he tried to keep it firm. Impossible. No human bond should endure this. The man's voice cut through the silence. You said the test would decide. It has. The bond is real. The woman lifted her chin, her silver glow blazing again. And your law protects us. The chamber erupted in chaos. Some counselors shouted in anger, others whispered in fear. For the first time in centuries, the unshakable law bent before something new. A human. The High Counselor slammed his hand down, silencing the uproar. His eyes burned like suns. You may have passed the test, but law is more than bonds. Law is order, and order demands sacrifice. If you remain, the galaxy will fracture. Are you ready to bear that weight, human? The man stared up at him, his voice calm, steady, unafraid. I have borne loneliness my whole life. Now I bear something greater. I will not let her face it alone. The woman's hand tightened in his. Her eyes shone with tears and fire. The High Counselor leaned back, his gaze unreadable. Then so be it. But know this, you have awakened something dangerous, something even we may not control. The chamber's lights dimmed. The trial was over, but the true judgment had only just begun. The chamber was silent after the council's final words. The human man stood tall, his hand locked with the alien woman's. Around them, whispers echoed like storm winds. Some voices spoke of fear, others of anger. But one thing was certain. The bond had shaken the galaxy. The guards hesitated. The counselors shifted in their seats. For centuries, their laws had never been tested by something as unpredictable as a human. Now their authority trembled. The High Counselor's fiery eyes burned down at them. You are bound by law. We cannot deny it. But understand this, your bond is not a victory. It is a danger. You have changed what should never change. The man's voice was calm, but his words cut deep. You call it danger. I call it truth. You claim to rule through law, but your law feared only one thing: choice. And tonight I chose her. The alien woman raised her chin, her silver glow bright once more. And I chose him. Not because of law, not because of fear, but because he saw me when no one else did. He gave me what your empire never gave me, freedom. Gasps filled the chamber. Counselors hissed in anger. Some whispered in awe. The High Counselor slammed his hand down. Enough, you dare lecture us? But before he could continue, the crystal between them pulsed again. Its light spread across the chamber, brighter than before, washing over every counselor, every shadow. The man felt the energy surge. It was no longer only between him and her. It spread outward, alive, unstoppable. It carried not only love, but defiance, courage, and something deeply human. The woman's eyes widened. The bond is growing. The High Counselor's fiery gaze flickered. For the first time, there was something in his eyes that looked almost like fear. The man stepped forward. You call humans nothing. Yet your own law bends before us. Your weapons failed against us, and now your chamber itself bows to our bond. Maybe you are wrong. Maybe humans are not weak. The chamber erupted again, voices clashing. Some counselors shouted for silence, others demanded punishment. But their words were drowned in the hum of the crystal. The woman turned to him, her voice soft but steady. They cannot stop it. The bond is no longer just between us. It is a message to all. Humans are not what they believed. The High Counselor rose, towering over them. You may have proven your bond, but know this. Every empire, every law, every council in this galaxy will hear of tonight. You have set fire to the stars, and fire cannot be controlled. The man's jaw tightened. His voice was firm. Then let it burn. Maybe it is time your laws face something new. The chamber shook as the crystal exploded in light, filling every corner with blinding brilliance. For a heartbeat, the man felt everything. Every counselor's fear, every whisper of tradition, every chain of law. And then he felt something else. Pride. Human pride. The light dimmed. The crystal cracked, its ancient power spent. The bond remained, glowing softly around them both. The council sat in silence. None dared speak. Finally, the High Counselor lowered his head. The bond stands. You are beyond our reach. Leave this chamber and carry your fate. But remember, every step you take will echo across the stars. And one day the galaxy itself will answer. The guard stepped aside. The path was open. The woman's eyes filled with tears, but her smile was radiant. We did it. The man nodded, his chest rising with steady breath. We did. But this is only the beginning. Together they walked out of the chamber. The crowd outside parted, whispers following them like shadows. Some looked with fear, others with hope. When they stepped into the open air, the night sky stretched wide above them. The stars burned brighter as if watching. The woman turned to him, her voice soft. Do you realize what you've done? You didn't just save me. You changed everything. Humans will never be seen the same again. He looked at her, his eyes steady. Maybe they'll fear us. Maybe they'll hate us. But they'll know we're not weak. Her silver glow shimmered in the starlight. And they'll know humans can love with a strength no law can break. For the first time, the man smiled. Not the smile of someone forgotten or lonely, but the smile of someone who had found meaning. He took her hand. We'll face whatever comes together. Above them, ships moved like shadows, carrying whispers of war, of change, of fear. But none of it mattered now, because in a galaxy ruled by laws and fear, one human had proven something greater, that choice courage. And love could bend even the oldest chains, and the galaxy would never be the same again.